Welcome to Harvard Divinity School. We're going upscale this week. Harvard Divinity School is doing a conference in December, 100 years of Rudolf Steiner. A century later, Rudolf Steiner steps into the light of Harvard. I'm so excited. As many of you know, I was raised by parents who studied Rudolf Steiner. My father was an anthroposophist. He was born in Germany, and he immigrated to America when Hitler was rising to power. And when I was growing up, anthroposophy, which is what it's called, what Steiner's work is called, is the study of the spiritual in the human being. Nobody knew what it was and nobody talked about it. I was born in the 50s and just before the 60s hit. So when I grew up, I learned not to talk about it very much. Of course, the world has now changed. But there's a part of me who's still a little kid, was in awe of Steiner and Dornoch and the Gurdjianum and the work that I saw being done all over the world. And it wasn't until I had a big dream in 2000 to leave everything, leave Santa Barbara, leave my partner, leave my private practice and my shamanic healing to go to Berkeley. And I was there for 2 years, and I had another dream to go to Rudolf Steiner College and study with Dennis Klocek. And that was really my first time in 2002 of stepping into the world of Waldorf education, the world of spiritual science, Steiner's school for the modern path of initiation, led me deeper and deeper into my own creative arts practice, which I've talked about in most of my vlogs, my podcasts. Nonetheless, there's still a part of me that is in awe of this world because, and growing up in the country in Ojai area and later in Santa Barbara, when I moved to Santa Barbara to take care of my dad, I am still inside that little girl who has awe and wonder over these people who have dedicated their lives to these creative practices, from biodynamic gardening to speech to eurythmy to the creative arts to medicine to Waldorf education to Camp Hills. It's just, it's so beautiful to see the seeds of Steiner blooming all over the world. It's been 100 years since Rudolf Steiner died. He died in March 1925. And so we're celebrating 100 years of Rudolf Steiner's death, but also in the esoteric traditions, after 100 years, the inner doors are open. And it's so remarkable that there's been worldwide celebrations of Steiner's work in all kinds of areas and all kinds of medias all over the world. But Harvard Divinity School, which so many of us look up to in America as sort of you have arrived, is celebrating with a conference in December, and it's free, okay? It's free. You can sign up virtually, and you can also, if you're in Massachusetts, you can go to Harvard. But I have signed up for free. I just did that a couple of days ago, so I'll set the links below this vlog. And Harvard, as you know, has recently made news by rejecting a series of federal demands from the Trump administration. Harvard declined to comply. Harvard Divinity School stands for American independence when other big kahunas are folding. Yes? Yes. Carrying on the tradition of breaking new ground, in December, Harvard hosts the 100 Years of Rudolf Steiner Conference, bringing scholars, educators, artists, and practitioners from all over the world, including the vibrant youth groups who carry Steiner's initiatives into life-affirming expressions of learning, agriculture, creativity, and cultural renewal. It's a fabulous thing. And many of my friends are actually giving lectures at Harvard in December. I'm just so excited. The little girl in me is so excited. So for those of you who don't know Rudolf Steiner, he was a seer, a clairvoyant, and his trajectory in his life path was when he went to school, he went to a school that was the equivalent of what we'd call MIT. And his trajectory was through the Goethe archives. He was an intellectual, and yet he was also born clairvoyant. And what he saw within the world as a seer, someone who could see into the future, and as you know, as a little aside, I'm a precognitive, quote, dreamer, but I'm precognitive, and that means I also get glimpses of the future. So, as someone who has had this since I was very young, it's an ordinary, practical gift that most people have. It doesn't mean I'm special. Most people have it. It's just that they don't pay attention. Those fleeting morning glimpses of the future as they come. Nonetheless, Steiner was clairvoyant and he could see, for instance, Steiner saw the honeybee crisis that happened here in America and in the world 80 years before it happened. He saw it coming. So what does Steiner do as a clairvoyant, as an initiator, as a man who's concerned with helping the world? So in preparing for this future that he knew was coming, he created the protocols for biodynamic and organic gardening, a regenerative way to work with the soil, empower our pollinators, the bees empower our pollinators, and support the vitality of the earth. Now, if you go into a grocery store in Berkeley, you can find biodynamic wine on every shelf, biodynamic beans, biodynamic this. So biodynamics, you have to understand, was given to us because Steiner foresaw the honeybee crisis 80 years before it happened in life. He saw that coming. So he gave us gifts to not just confront it, but to bring, it's almost like doing Tai Chi. You take the energy and you move it forward. So he gave us biodynamic gardening, and the young people, the youth, love this. They love it. It's given them a new lease on life. So many of my friends' kids love biodynamics. They're on organic farms. They're learning from like Harold Hoven. They were at Steiner College in the garden as assistants and learning from Harold how to work a garden with biodynamics and organics. So Rudolf Steiner gifted the world with a tremendous output, regenerative gifts, practical tools to help humanity in the next millenniums as they are coming forward. He gave us an education, for instance, the Waldorf education, Camp Hills, agriculture, medicine, architecture, science, Waldorf schools, teacher training, anthroposophical hospitals and clinics, eurythmy, painting, sculpture, organic architecture, the Goetheanum, social threefolding, Camp Hill communities, and art that is living in major museums. We have Hilma off Klint completely interfacing with the art world, the modern art world, because she was a student of Rudolf Steiner. And Hilma af Klint, the whole world has woken up to. It was not a man who did the first modern art painting. It was a woman. It was Hilma. And this is because she was a student of Rudolf Steiner. And she was a painter. So I'm an artist, as you know. So I'm very interested in the arts, although I didn't go to Dornoch and get the training, but I did it because I'm a devotional artist and I love God in all God's forms. So my master's was in cross-cultural sacred iconography, which is a mouthful, but it really is. It anchors what I'm here to do. I'm here to love God in all its forms and to teach artists in whatever practice they're in, to deepen, to inspire artists. So when I read the conference program, the Harvard Divinity 100 Years of Rudolf Steiner conference program, I felt a rush of finally, 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 finally. And I remember I felt that way when the magazine Utne Reader, Eric Utne's son, I believe, went to a Waldorf school, and he got so interested in the curriculum that his son was doing and how lively it was in the arts that Eric Utne took a year off and traveled the world researching Steiner's initiatives worldwide. And that really was one of the boosts of getting Steiner's work on the world map. That was Eric Utne, Utne Reader. And then in the circles as I was growing up, and I watched the series Friends, we all know Friends, that Jennifer Aniston attended a Waldorf school, and she attended a Rudolf Steiner school in New York City. Paul Newman's children went to a Waldorf school. So Steiner gave over 6,000 lectures in lecture halls all over the world. But in Dornach, when they were building the Meridianum, they had a huge like barn building where all the men and women were sitting wherever they could, and it was typically cold. And he would have a huge blackboard, and he had colored chalks, and he would make blackboard drawings. And some person in the audience wised up to the fact, and it may have been a woman actually, that these were full, complete drawings, esoteric doctrines that were in this new imaginative form because he was bringing in these new arts. Remember, there was Congress in 1907 that changed the world. So Kandinsky and Paul Klee and Chagall and Joseph Beuys were all going to Steiner's lectures, as well as Hilma af Klint. And as we know, Hilma af Klint's work is touring the world internationally. And Hilma was the first person, i.e., a woman, who did the first modern art. She was way ahead of Kandinsky. And of course, in his story, in Men Who Write History, they gave it to Kandinsky to be the first modern artist. And he has been touted and given accolades and awards and the prestige. And you know what? I met Hilma af Klint in Berkeley in the spiritual in modern art class taught by Charles Magensky, who was part of the beginning of the Los Angeles exhibition, 1986, The Spiritual and Modern Art. And you can still get that book online. I bought two of them in case it went out of print. And that's where I met Hilma, because Hilma was in this exhibition. And I bought every book I could on Hilma at the time. She was completely unknown. They were all in German, but I didn't care. I was flipped out in the best way possible about her art. And if you look at my vlogs, I did a vlog on, it wasn't Kandinsky, it was Hilma who did the first modern art. And I did a whole series on thought forms because she was actually piercing over the threshold into the spiritual world and painting what she saw. And that's very in depth. That series went to 7 weeks because it's so in depth. But I also have on site still for free a download for the spiritual quality of colors that came out of those vlogs. But I want to get back to these blackboard drawings, okay? And I'm going to change my background so you can see. So here's one of the blackboard drawings. So I want to say that these blackboard drawings are touring the world internationally, since I have over here all the data and details of these, where these museums are, because I can't keep it in my memory. So the first exhibition outside the Steiner archive was at a gallery in Cologne in the summer of 1992. Steiner's blackboard drawings have been on view in many prestigious museums, and it's probably the extraordinary spiritual presence of these drawings, immediacy of their pictorial effect, which have made this late discovery for Steiner in today's art scene possible. So I think I'm going to do, I think these are current. museums. It toured all over the world. It was huge a couple of years ago. A National Museum in Zurich is displaying 6 wall panel drawings as part of an exhibition on the history and discovery of the psyche in Switzerland. National Museum in Zurich is displaying 6 wall panel drawings as part of an exhibition on the history of discovery of the psyche. The Venice Biennial 2013 displayed 54 of Steiner's original drawings in the International Art Exhibition, Palazzo Enciclopedio. Sorry. NGV, the National Gallery of Victoria, Australia, held an exhibition titled Imagination, Inspiration, Intuition, Joseph Beuys and Rudolf Steiner, which featured 42 of Steiner's drawings alongside works of Joseph Beuys. And Joseph Beuys, for those who don't know, he was one of the first very, very modern artists, and he loved doing installation and performance art. Beuy's, Joseph Beuys. And he loved coyotes too. To get back to the Harvard conference, which is free, and I again encourage you to go online. You can actually read the abstracts. They've submitted what they're going to talk about, and they're just beautiful and brilliant and heartwarming and accessible. So let's see. So when I read the program, there's panels on, and I have to read this because I don't have it all down. There's panels on spiritual information, Christianity, esoteric Christianity, and Steiner's philosophical outlook that speak directly to the inner path of development and to the way individual strengthens conscience, devotion, and clear, grounded thinking in daily life. Presenters work with prayer, meditation, and spiritual exercises, and the mood holds a deep love for Christ and the human being. And the interesting thing about Steiner is because he's a clairvoyant, a seer, and considered by many to be a spiritual master, is that he sees how Krishna, how Buddha, how the great saints all work towards this healthy spiritual evolution of humanity. It speaks to the human being at wherever they are in their path. And I can attest to that because I was a shaman and I thought Steiner was old hat until I started having punny dreams about Steiner, which led me back to it. I couldn't believe it. And I had a dream to go to Berkeley, and I thought that was for the transformative arts program. That was 2 years, which blew my mind. And then I had other dreams where I was standing in line uh, registering, and I was talking to somebody in the dream. It was a precognition, saying someone walked up to me and said, "Hey, I heard you're moving to Fair Oaks." And in the experience, I said yes. And when I woke up, I went, "Oh my God, what's in Fair Oaks?" So I Google it, and it's Rudolf Steiner College. And then I went up there and I met Dennis, and it was like the die was cast. Absolutely brilliant alchemist, brilliant, carrying on Steiner's work like this in a very modern way, a modern American Steiner initiate, I would say. That's for you, Dennis. I said, if anthroposophy is alive, if Sophia, because anthroposophy is anthroposophia, Sophia is in the very name of the spiritual science Steiner brings. It's founded on getting to know this spiritual being, the divine Sophia, who is holy wisdom. And I did an installation on that in Berkeley. It was 2 years of work built on 5 years of study on good and evil, which led to my installation of the divine Sophia and the virtues and vices and veils that you pull aside the veils and you reveal the Sophia in front of you in a beautiful darkened hall. And one of my other curators was Mary McCulloch, who had worked for Lucasfilm. We had no money, but it was a fabulous, beautiful set that she helped us build in the Deities, Dialogues, and Dreams exhibition in Berkeley in 2002. And that's when I had the dream to go on to Steiner College. And I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and it changed my life for the better. I want to warmly, warmly invite you to the Harvard Divinity School website for 2 luminous days in December, the 15th and 16th. And you can log in and register for free. You've got to kind of click into it because it's going to say, are you coming in person? And then you keep clicking and it says virtual, and you click the virtual if you can't go. And it's completely free. That's the Harvard Divinity School website. And I'll put the links in the vlog below. Thank you so much for watching this. And if you're listening to the podcast, I got to tell you, every single week that I do these, it's loaded with fabulous images that you're not going to see regularly because I'm bringing in esoteric, deeply spiritual, cross-cultural, shamanic images that aren't seen normally. So I'm loading the vlog visually so you can actually see images that help us and heal us and bring us life and energy. And we're not just eating regurgitated AI images, right? So thank you so much for listening to this week's vlog on the Harvard Divinity School conference on 100 years of Rudolf Steiner. The conference is the 15th and 16th of December. It's available virtually, completely free. You can sign up at Harvard Divinity School's website, and you can read the abstracts and the presenters. I'm going to be doing some other vlogs in conjunction with this Harvard Divinity School because I know some of the people who are actually presenting, and I want to go in a little deeper to amplify some of the spiritual gifts that are so practical for this day and age. One of the presenters is a man that did a book called Enigma, and his name is Reinhold Fath. And I got to meet him on the Front Range Anthroposophical Cafe. The short term for that is FRAC, F-R-A-C, Front Range Anthroposophical Cafe. It's free. It's usually on Friday nights. And it's got anthroposophists from all over the world, from people who work with honeybees to biodynamic gardeners. And it's very lively. And they have a half-hour presentation, and then they have a salon that's everybody gets to just talk to each other. So it's quite wonderful. And my friend Tom Altgelt started FRAC, and he started FRAC during the pandemic based on a dream he had of Rudolf Steiner. And he shares that in the FRAC. It's quite a funny dream. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to share it, so I'm not going to. But Rudolf Steiner is very active in the world, especially in dreaming. And as you know, I'm an esoteric dream teacher, and I have classes on esoteric dreaming and how dreaming works, because dreaming is the easiest way for any human being to have a spiritual experience. And that is a quote from Rudolf Steiner. So thank you so much. Thank you, Harvard. Thank you for sticking up to bullies. And for many people, they're going to be going to Massachusetts, and they're going to be in those hallowed halls, and they're going to be looking at Steiner art and meeting a lot of anthroposophists, students of Rudolf Steiner. So thank you very much. Christina West signing off. Let's get creative. Christina West signing off. Let's get creative. Christina West signing off. Let's get creative. Poof, poof. And please subscribe if you like my content. I'm trying to get monetized on YouTube so I can go home to Santa Barbara.